Speaking of competition barbecue and stuff. So, Richard, have you ever had any experience with competition barbecue at all?
None whatsoever. I went once to a barbecue cook-off, but the only reason I went because my brother got invited and he kind of snuck me in to the grounds, and I was just sampling the barbecue, but mainly from the group that he was at with. I didn't walk around and like try anything else, but that was the only experience I have. But it was okay, and the only thing I remember was that night it was pouring rain for them. So I was like, man, I can't believe they were actually cooking in the pouring rain.
Yeah, yeah. So years ago, this is circa 2013, I think. I cooked a contest with a buddy of mine, Colby Archie, down in Tunica, Mississippi, and there was a lot of memorable things that happened at that contest. It was in the parking lot of one of them casinos down there, and of course, it's a long ways from here. It's like 5 hours or so. And anyway, we got down there, and it had rained and rained and rained and rained. And there was, I mean, 2 inches of water through that whole parking lot. Of course, they got all the temporary power rolled out and all that stuff, and it's down into water. I mean, it was just a bad situation all the way around.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you compete, man. That's what they always told us about organizing a contest. There may be no team show up, just because of whatever bad weather, anything like that. But the competition, you still got people showing up, you still got judges, you still got all of that happening, and it is what it is. So crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, it's always helpful to have like a porch trailer with your stuff up on the porch, or an easy up that you can keep over the top of your stuff, things like that. I guess you can get as silly as you want with gear and all of that. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. You can't get out from under it. Sun, I mean, summer, July for a contest, and especially down where you're at, down in Texas, that's crazy. I imagine Georgia too. You know, Nick Renzi's asking what bear. I'm gonna try to bring Nick on. I don't know if he wants to come on or not. He don't have to, but I'm gonna invite him anywho. Oh, there we go. Bang. This is all about getting the community going. There's not a one-way conversation this way. Um, but yeah, so he was asking what bare minimums you need in order to get started small time competition typically. And I think he means like backyards and
Yeah.
stuff.
He said he was
Uh,
cooking for the church.
oh yeah, church contest. Yeah, those will be easy ones. Um, so really, it just depends on, in my opinion, it just kind of depends on what the categories are. But a lot of competitions, especially those, there's really no rules. So you're not like going to have to, you're not going to have to like comply with standards usually on like cookers and things like that. So you can get away with a lot of what you got, in those situations. And the 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 other competitors aren't really turning in like American Royal kind of turn-ins, which I don't know if that's really even any better than normal. But because American Royal, sometimes you get some really crappy food turned in, according to some of my buddies that are judges, inedible and stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway, so if you're doing like this, let's just say the four categories, I typically try to cook. If I don't have a big offset, I'm going to try to cook on four drums, one for each category, typically. And that's mostly because of my process. I don't want to intermix things. Most backyard competitions are ribs and chicken, typically, because they're fast and easy. And guys want to show up in the morning and go home in the afternoon, kind of deal. So since it's a fast contest, you don't really need like a whole bunch of ways to keep food cold. Just a cooler and some ice is good enough. Typically, you're gonna be doing all your trimming and everything on site probably, so you don't really need to like have coolers and coolers of food and ice and all that. and water. You're not probably gonna have to bring water with you. Make everything disposable would be my first. If Dale Fort was here, I'm sure he would chime in on that one. Um, make everything disposable that you can possibly dispose of, because it's just going to save you a lot of cleanup time. It's going to save you a lot of expense on, like, if you got expensive stuff you want to cook with because it's fancy, that kind of thing. And be lightweight. Like, I try not to bring the kitchen sink and a fridge. It's just too much to deal with. So, maybe a couple of bus tubs or something just to throw everything in when you're done that you don't want to throw away. And that's really it. Other than that, it's just your normal barbecue tools, knives, charcoal, foil, that kind of thing. Not really a lot to it for that scene. But yeah, that's looking here through the chat. But yeah, that's about the bare minimum, I think. You have to know about garnish. Like when we talked about rules, is there, like, are they requiring a garnish of any kind? Typically, that's like lettuce, or like iceberg or green leaf lettuce. You can't use all the other stuff. Yeah, there you go. There's some. You can't do kale, for instance, used to be not legal garnish, but now you can use kale in KCBS. I hate kale, by the way. I think it's gross, and I don't understand it either. So I don't know what a kale is. It's leafy and curly, and it's almost like cheating, I guess, because like when you put it in the box, it's all fluffy, but it kind of stinks, So I don't know. But curly parsley, that's what I always used to use. It's the hardest thing to build a box with. What else can you use? I suppose you could use cilantro, I think is legal.
Why did they start doing that for, honestly? What's the purpose of having that green leafy underneath the food for? It's just for looks, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird that they even put it on there. I mean,
so that's your
so I don't know, but I'm just thinking.
Sure. Well, so that's a great question. So to non-colorblind people, the only thing I can assume, because I'm colorblind, red and green don't work with me, but to non-colorblind people, I suppose that in theory, it makes the meat pop out of the box. Like it gives you this, like almost like when you take a picture against a bland background, whatever's in front of that background pops. It kind of stands out.
But do the judges actually see it like that, or did they get it on a plate already cut up?
No, they see it like that. So what'll happen is that you put everything in the box in such a fashion that it looks really nice, right? If you go back and look at Dell's turn-in boxes that he posted back in the December throwdown for chicken, you'll see that he just like arranged it real nice. The sauce was like perfect. There's no finger marks in it, nothing like that. And it's usually the garnish is down below the meat, and it just kind of helps pull everything up in the box. Otherwise, so when they open the box, it's like a clamshell, like a take-home box. And then they open that up, and then the table captain is the guy that is like showing the box and handling all the referee at the table, basically. And so then the judges are all the way around the table, and the table captain shows the box, and then the first thing they do, they show it to each judge, and the judge has to give an appearance score, and that appearance score is typically somewhere around between 5 and 9, typically on KCBS. 9 being, you just want to jump in the box. That's kind of where some of our scoring comes from for our throwdowns. And then 5 being like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, basically. it's kind of how that works. But and then after that is when the table captain brings the box back around and each judge pulls out a bite. Could be, if it's a ribs, it's a rib. If it's there is a gotcha rule too, is that like if you turn in a box and like let's say you didn't cut your ribs all the way and the judge picks up a rib and they stick together, most judges will not take and shake it and get it off. They're going to pick up the whole thing. It depends on how old school they are or not. Well, if it's you have to turn in 6 pieces for 6 judges at the table. So if one judge got 2 bites, then if he didn't shake it off or something, if he was a jerk that day, then one judge is going to give you 0 or 1. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he can't eat anything.
Yeah. Or a DQ. There's not enough food in here.
Yeah, a DQ. I don't know really if that would be DQ or not, but a DQ is typically because of foreign object in the box, such as like a lot of guys will probe. Oh, this is crazy. I've seen this happen a bunch of times. A guy will take his thermopin and poke the thermopin through the foil and push a piece of foil down inside the pork butt or whatever. And he didn't know it, Well, they turn in and then the judge starts looking at it and then that happens to be in the box, or anything that's not the meat and the garnish can be a disqualification. Yeah, it can get pretty crazy, man. But yeah, so in that, speaking of that, it's like there's all these other layers of things you should bring. If the contest is a big boy contest, what I call a big boy contest, where there's a lot of money involved, and there's there's a lot more teams or a lot more at stake, to win.
Yeah.
You might want to bring like toothpicks, Q-tips, whatever to daub on the box. Tweezers, like you get all into this, like all the fine instruments and stuff to arrange things. Definitely paper towels. All of that. Dave says, I've been on a barbecue team where we did mostly KCBS. We also did local and regional tournaments. That's cool. I've been to, Jason says he's been to a few, but some of those guys are intense. Man, there's a whole nother Frank that comes out. Like back in the day when I was competing, man, I was there for business. That's what I was there for. I had a good time, but like we even had like a certain playlist we played that like we knew what was going on based on whatever the track was that was playing. Like you could just, it's a rhythm, and when you get in it, and then you got another guy over there reading every 30 seconds. He'll tell you what time it is until we get down to the last like 2 minutes. And then it's like every 10 seconds, he tells you what time it is, cause you got to hit your turn in.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense, especially with chicken, because it's the first in KCBS. But cool, man. Let's see.
So is that for all the other ones, like steak competitions or chili cook-offs? Is pretty much the same?
Well, so I never did a chili cook-off, but there's all these different ones that I've had buddies that were in. Back in the day, a guy named John Tupper up here I used to, run with a little bit at some competitions. He did these things in Missouri and Kansas called chili pods. And chili pods, like I couldn't believe it when he first told me. He's like, like the chili you eat at home, that ain't what we cook in a chili pod. He said chili pod is basically the gravy part of a chili. And he said, like, you can't have like black pepper showing up in the gravy. You'll get like nicked for that. Like their chili pods is like, it's like you use white pepper. You don't want anything to like poke out in the chili, like objects in the chili, and then they're judging based on the flavor, I guess, and the appearance, evidently. But that was a whole deal, man. There was a big bunch of those guys around here for a little while. I don't think it's like the church chili cook-off, which is like, you know, anything goes kind of deal, I suppose.
Hmm.
But yeah, Oklahoma, that was another place where there was a whole bunch of them chili pod things, and I never did get to participate. I always thought it would be pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, I don't know. Dave says, I like to enjoy the foods I cook and want others to enjoy more than one bite. That's why I cook with love at home and at other people's homes. It's more of a culinary restaurant experience when I cook now versus competition flavor. You know, and there's a lot to that because with competitions, you know, it is a one bite contest, you know, basically. Like if a judge actually ate the entire thing of everything that they set in front of them, they'd eat like 2 pounds of meat. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous, and then they wouldn't be very happy at the end of the contest. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Danny, did you ever compete at all? You might turn your volume up to answer. You never did? I'll be dang. Yeah, I bet you'd be good at it, man.
Oh, I never competed. I've thought about it, but I never have. I don't know.
That never bothered me, I don't guess. Well, I mean, because competition, you know, you really don't know what each other did unless you got your name called. You know, if your name gets
Right.
called, then it's like, you know, wow, man, yay. You know, you did good. Everybody's behind you. If you don't get your name called, you know, nobody really pays attention to that except you. And then you beat yourself up for the next week or two till the next contest trying to figure out what you did wrong. Sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes it was just the judges. That's what stinks about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Time.
from what I've seen, or I've not actually been to any barbecue competitions per se, but it seems like it's a pretty collegial atmosphere. It's not like cutthroat kind of stuff.
Oh, at all. Yeah, it's everybody's, you know, sometimes it's intense competition, but everybody's buddies, you know. That's
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some feuds here and there, but you know, I never had any bad experiences at all. You know, I
As
just
long as you don't try to
basically,
go into anybody's tent when they're plating, right?
yeah, we always had people popping in and stuff. I mean, you know, they can tell when they walk in that the environment's pretty supercharged, you know, like up in the trailer, because I had a trailer I cooked out of. So like they step up in there and they could be like, oh, they see that the intensity is there, you know. So they don't usually get up in your business and start asking for a rib or something, you know. But
Like, what's in
uh,
your
or
sauce?
yeah, but yeah, I always, you know, we used to call that shiggin, is what we called it. It's spelled Shiggin, and that's basically
Learning.
shiggin is basically like espionage and barbecue espionage. It's like you go around and you're kind of looking. You in your mind you're replaying the event. You're not taking pictures, but you are with your mind, and so you're looking at all the rub bottles, see what all their rubs are, see what kind of syrup they're using. If they're using maple syrup, like you're taking it all in, and you're
Yeah.
usually bringing some kind of a thing with you to offer as a peace offering to let you hang for a minute. Like, hey, you want to try my chicken? You know, like chicken turn-ins are done. So what's that,
Or
Tal?
beer.
Beer tribute.
There it is. Yeah, beer tribute. Yeah. And but anyway, so what we used to do, and we made fun of it. So we would write "not" across, like if it was a bottle of like Cimarron Docks, we would write the word "not" across the top of that label, so it was like not Cimarron Docks, but it actually was usually. So, or maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Like maybe we shifted bottles, you know. But there was always fun stuff like that. Shiggin, you know, like you see it, huh? What's that?
You seen that episode of Pit Masters where Jamie Greer, I guess how you say his name, they're at I can't think of his name now. Whatever the pit master, they go out to his house and he knows he's not going to win.
Oh,
So
Johnny Trigg.
Yeah, the Johnny Trigg showdown or whatever, and he lights them up with
Mhm.
cayenne. I've always wondered how many times that happens in a competition where somebody's just like, we ain't got a chance, but I'm going to light them up.
Dude, that ain't no lie. That happens more than you think.
Really?
So, like, if you hear experienced people that have cooked a lot of contests or whatever, what happens is that like you'll get some new team in there and they got some revolutionary new rub or sauce or something that they're going to like change the world for barbecue, for better barbecue, and they come in there and they slap it on, and boy, I mean, it was like 3 hot chili pepper wing sauce stuff they're going to put on the chicken or something, and they just blast the judges. You know, well, chicken's first. Yeah, chicken's first, and then now you got a bunch of that's the table of death, we called it, because like anyone that lands on that table with their box the rest of the contest is probably going to get hurt, you know, on their score. Which, yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is a statistics numbers game, you know. But you just can't tell anything up front until after the scores are presented, you know. It's usually the guy that screwed something up real bad, like I've done in the past, and that's when you get first place chicken or something, which I did. We bought flavored water, like orange and peach flavored water, one time that had like sweet, or what's that? Not stevia, but like not NutraSweet. What's the modern day version of NutraSweet, Danny?
Like Sweet and Low.
What is? Yeah, it's kind of like a sweet and low thing. It had in it. I can't remember what it used to be NutraSweet back when we was kids, but I can't remember what
Saccharin.
it was.
Splenda,
Something like that. Splenda. No, there's another one. Anyway, it had that crap in it, and anyway, I brined my chicken with that stuff. Yeah.
Well,
no.
Splenda
Anyway,
is
first
made
place
with
chicken.
a chemical called sucralose. Sucralose is actually just one molecule off from actual sugar. But I think Sweet and Low, I think, is saccharin. If I remember. I don't remember now.
How do you guys feel about taking like a judging course to prepare for, I mean, not only just for competitions, just for seeing, what sells, what doesn't, that kind of thing?
Gotcha. I'd absolutely recommend a judging class for competitions. As far as like real life, it's pointless. Because what they're doing in a judging class is they're teaching you how to, I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to find barbecue cooked like that anywhere else, because it's a $200 brisket that's trimmed from 20 pounds literally down to like a pound, probably pound and a half. And that's the only part of it they're cooking, so they can get one bite, you know, usually just the flat, or just a piece of the point, you know. So, or it's really crappy barbecue because it's somebody trying to learn how to do competition barbecue, you know. So, I guess at the end of the day, it's really good to go take a judge's class, but I think you get better experience like actually going and like just taking a Texas barbecue tour or something, you know, like go eat at some of the top 50 joints, you know, because those guys, their next level is profitable, you know what I mean? So they've not only just figured out how to cook amazing barbecue, they've also figured out how to cook amazing barbecue profitably, you know. So at that point, you know, if they can please the people, you know, then if you can mimic that, then you've got something. So like we said last week, when it comes to like seasonings, if you were going to start like a seasonings business, make sure your seasonings taste good on popcorn and ice cream. And if they taste good on popcorn and ice cream, more than likely everyone will eat it. At least that's what Phil Breeden told me.
So
that's LC's.
And I tried the ice cream test, and I got to say that was a winner.
Was it? With which rub?
Yeah. This
with
my
yours?
recipe, yeah.
That's awesome. If it passes the test on, yeah, yeah, if it passes the test on ice cream and popcorn, man, it'll go. Just get it on a shelf. At that point, distribution is the only thing that'll make or break you. You just got to get enough of it sold somewhere. Then you can get it into the like hypothesis about labels and shelf space, and you can go all over that, man. That gets
Additives
crazy.
like anti-caking agents.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. Because of extended shelf life, because your rub don't sell.
You
Or
know,
you
you're
make
talking
too much.
about that. You're talking about the cooking for one bite kind of thing. I know Jeremy Yoder did a video on that. I don't know, a year and a half or so ago. I think he had Harry Sue come out and he showed him the difference between cooking for yourself and cooking for backyard and friends and that kind of thing. And then they cooked a brisket at the same time that was just strictly a one bite brisket. And it was like, he said, this is what you're doing for competition because you're turning it in and they're going to eat one bite. So you drastically over season that because you're trying to catch their attention. But if you tried to eat a full meal worth of that meat, it would be way too much. You can't eat that because it's so over seasoned. You'd get, it's kind of like trying to sit down and eat a whole bunch of pork belly where you just get because it's so fatty and rich. But that's what you're trying to turn in because you got to catch the judge's attention on one bite.
Well, that and like we were talking a minute ago, you got some guy that's been cooking with creosote, in his cooker, and the other guy's just like real proud of his new spicy wing sauce recipe, So you're kind of going up against those guys, and or maybe he just pounded it with garlic. I mean, garlic powder or something. You just never know what you're up against. Too salty. And the judge is supposed to cleanse his or her palate, in between every bite. And so what they do is they use saltine crackers and water is what they use for that. And so like they're supposed to like take a saltine cracker and get it on their tongue and let it sit there and just kind of like absorb whatever's there and then cleanse with water. And then that actually should somewhat reset their palate so they can go to the next deal because honestly, in competition barbecue, they're not supposed to compare. Like comparison's not allowed. Each bite should stand on its own, and so yeah, that's kind of what you're up against, and so that's why you got to overseason, like Danny's saying, is because you don't know. Like when they sample a slice of brisket that's this wide, they're going to take one bite of that brisket, and how the judge is instructed to bite that is they take that piece of brisket at both ends and they pull. And wherever it snaps apart, that's where they bite. So that's the reason they do that is because that's the most tender spot on that slice of brisket. So when it snaps, you just want to make sure that like you've got the right flavor profile in that spot on that slice of brisket,
Yeah, it's like the
otherwise,
opposite of lab jerky.
Yeah, if you missed that spot, then they're not going to get your flavor profile. You're going to be like, I don't know what's wrong with those guys because like that was the best brisket I ever turned in. Well, they didn't eat the whole slice. They took a bite off one half of it,
Yeah, I've heard some of these guys talk about judging and they say, yeah, at the end of the day, you've consumed like 4 pounds of meat and you're just like sick of meat. You don't want to touch anything for 2 days.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Even taking one
much
bite
they
off
put
each
in
one,
there.
you got 20 or 30 people turning something in.
Yeah, yeah. I had a lot of fun doing contests, but man, it takes a lot of work, man, a lot of practice. It's just like professional sports. I mean, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of investment, a lot of time, and I can have just as much fun here cooking at the house,
See, I'd
and I
like
can
to
cook wherever
go
I
and
want. I'm not
participate.
regulated.
I'd like to go,
Yeah.
be part of a team, be part of somebody's team, and I'll be there and I'll cook, I'll tend fire, I'll wrap things up or do whatever. But if I've got somebody else's name on the thing, I guess rather than me doing my thing and it's all me. But if I'm there as just a member of a team, I think I'd enjoy that. That'd be cool.
Dude, I remember like whenever we got started, we were there for the party or whatever. But what happens is a guy like that will go out there and get started, and they'll cook that first contest, and they hear their name called the first time, it's over. Like that's what would happen to you, dude. You'd get out there and nail it, and then once
I
you
get
nailed
hooked.
it, you'd be hooked, and you'd be trying to talk your wife into coming out there and like running boxes and all that. Randy Salinas, there he is. Let's
Yeah,
get
that's
him in.
true. I probably would.
Dave's got a couple things here. He said, Dave did. We spent a fortune on meats. Briskets were at minimum 5 prime for a normal competition and 5 to 6 SR at Snake River Farms, Wagyu. Man, those are the expensive ones. For the big boy, what's up, Randy? For the big boy, big money competition, we would cook 8 to 10 racks of ribs. That's what we used to do. Just to pick the best looking individual bones for training. I used to do that too. That was a pain in the rear, honestly, to get. We used to Hollywood cut. That's what we always used to call it. You ever Hollywood cut, Randy? Did you ever hear that term?
I've heard it before. I've never done it before.
Is that both sides?
Dude, I loved it. Yeah, you cut like you got the bone in the middle. You cut up against that bone and cut up against that bone, and then you got room to sculpt. Like if you're good enough and your ribs are consistent lengths, and you had 2 left-hand rib cages, then you could kind of piece together a couple slabs of ribs to get 4 on. Or I used to try to do 4 on 4. One time I got 5 on 5 in a box, but they weren't Hollywood cut like that. Hollywood cuts are like you're going to get like 3 on 3 or something because they're so fat and wide.
It's like a double rib.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know that a judge is going to like. My goal was to be like, okay, well, he can bite on this side, he can flip it around, bite on the other, but I don't know that a judge is actually going to do that. I don't know. Tell us some of your competition experience there, Randy. You've been cooking for a while.
I mean,
I'm
still learning stuff on competition. I'll tell you that much. I mean, there's days where I go out there and I struggle with it. Weather will bite me in the butt. I do little stupid things that I shouldn't do. Like changing the recipe the day of. Let me try this. I'm like, oh, shit, shouldn't have done it. But
I shouldn't have done it.
But yeah, I mean, for us, we're just going out there, and we're going out there to try to win. But I'm out there to spend some time with the family, and as long as we can have some laughs, that's the only thing that matters to us, at least to me.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's an expensive way to get some laughs, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but hey, it gets you out of your element. I'll tell you that much. That's what I look at, because you're cooking in the backyard, you get kind of comfortable, and when you get out there, you get out of your element, and you're able to kind of see how good you really are. Instead of saying, "Oh, well, I can cook a hell of a brisket, I can cook some damn good ribs." So,
Hey, I got a question. What competition circuits are you cooking right now? Like, are you doing just KCBS, or do you got something else that you're cooking?
So we do here in Texas. We do IBCA, CBA, and then Outlaw this year too. And I think we may do a Lone Star, and then of course we do KCBS when we go to the Royal. But we may do like another KCBS if we can find one close enough. But here in Texas, there's only maybe a handful of ones, and that's you either have to drive from North Texas to West Texas or up into Oklahoma, somewhere out of the state in order to get them. And I don't have the time or the money to do all that.
Yeah, driving around.
Yeah.
Tunica, Mississippi was the farthest I ever cooked that I can remember. I think. Was that the farthest one away I cooked? We cooked a bunch in Kansas. Kansas. I think Illinois. Kansas, Illinois, Oklahoma. I never cooked in Arkansas, but I went to a lot in Arkansas, and then I skipped all the way down to Mississippi for that one competition. That was pretty fun. But yeah, good times, man. I do miss it. I just found a box at the shop with all my old junk in it from all the junk I was keeping from all them contests. Found my very first American Royal parking pass for my truck window. 2011, I found that and I put it in a frame down there at the shop. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
But,
cool to kind of hold on to.
oh yeah, man. It's pretty interesting, the regionality, even just in competition, you know, like St. Louis and even Kansas City, like you'll get a little bit of different stuff happening with the flavor profiles. Anytime we were down closer to southeast or southwest Missouri or Kansas, Oklahoma, head country was the predominant thing. Like we would mix head country in with our blues hog, and just seemed like the judges really liked it. If we were over towards St. Louis, it was all 100% sweet. Like it was blues hog all the way, a little bit of agave nectar underneath. Isn't that what that stuff's called? Agave nectar or whatever? I don't know. It's like honey, but it's agave instead. I mixed that in with the blues hog one time and then heated it up, and that sauce tasted like sweet tarts. It wasn't right. That wasn't no good. Let's see. Dave's got another comment right here. I don't know if Dave's still on here or not. I would spend 90 minutes scraping the fat from the underside of the chicken thigh skin so it would get crispy when cooked. Oh, and I used wire cutters to cut back the bone in the thigh. I do that with a big butcher knife. So the judge wouldn't bite the bone if they picked it up at a weird angle. Yeah, you scrape fat off the skin there, Randy? You do half chickens, though, where you're at.
Well,
you ain't scraping
I'll scrape it if it's whether it's chicken thighs or chicken halves here, because mainly we do chicken halves here in Texas. But I'll scrape them. Just because, in my opinion, I mean, you don't want a judge to bite into it and get a piece of fat, because then that may ruin your scores. But I mean, here with it being knife and fork versus KCBS taking it, you know, and biting it, you do have to kind of get some of that fat out so it'll cut easier.
So it'll cut. It's a plastic knife and fork.
Yeah.
And it's a cheap white one, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see that totally. I don't know. I never did half chickens. I never turned in on any of that stuff. I really had big aspirations once to try to do an IBCA contest here in Missouri, but it didn't work out. But yeah, so KCBS, I got to the point where I never really scraped any fat at all. Matter of fact, some of these guys, you ever seen a jacquard? You guys ever seen one of those things? It's a wild looking deal. It's got a whole bunch of needles. And I got one over here. I'd have to go back in the closet and get it, but it's got like this handle you hold and you punch it. And I don't know how many needles is on it. It's probably 20 needles. I don't know. And so the guys back in the day would pull the skin off, scrape the fat, and then they would hit it with that jacquard, and they would just poke a whole bunch of little holes in it. And like a tenderizer is kind of what it's for, I guess. And put it back on. But I always felt like the skin would shrink, maybe, and you would get those holes. I don't know. I never did. I bought a jacquard, but I never did it. I didn't understand it.
I did it when I first started doing cook-offs. That's what I would do. And I mean, I've never noticed it with the holes, but
that's what we do in the backyard.
I don't know if it made a difference or not. I mean, I struggle with chicken today with it because, like I said, I changed recipes on it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can't tell when I drop a piece on the ground, put it back on the grill. I can't tell which one's which afterwards either.
That's all that Lone Stars you've been drinking. That's what that is.
After 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think it was that one.
You know, I did scrape a lot of chicken skin though back in the day, and then we quit competing. You know, towards the end of it, I quit scraping. But then Chicken Fried Bill Purvis, I don't know who came up with this thing, if he did or somebody else. but they came up with this Lazy Susan butcher block. Have you seen that thing? I got one out there a guy made for me. It's like I'll have to get a video of it, but if you ever watch Bill Purvis, he'll always like post something about his chicken or something during competition season. And he's got this round butcher block. It's about 10 inches. It's like a shape of a paper plate, about that big. And he'll take that skin and flap it out flat. And he takes like a paring knife almost, or some kind of a boning knife, and it's not super sharp. It's just kind of like okay sharp, like you'd find in my kitchen here at the house. And he'll spin that deal, and he just takes that knife and just scrapes like this. Dude, it's like one revolution and that chicken skin scraped. I never see anything like it. We would sit there and take that knife on edge and flat and just scrape and scrape and scrape and scrape, get all that fat off of there, and it stretched the skin out. Not him, man. He leaves just a little square or circle of fat right in the middle, just for I don't know what. And then like it's awesome. So there's a guy, Rob Rapier. He's from Washington State, and he took Bill's class. And anyway, he wound up making me one of those things and sent it to me. I thought that's pretty cool. I brought it to the Royal this year for Dell to use, but Dell wound up cooking chicken legs. So we didn't even get to use it yet. It's still brand new. I can't wait to do it. So
what do y'all put underneath the skin? Butter or mayonnaise, or what do y'all use? Or nothing at all?
Nothing. Nothing. I will tell you this. Like chicken, just besides the skin, there's a lot more trimming to it than just that. I mean, we got to cut the knuckle off. We got to pull out the oyster. There's a vein that's in there that I always grab with a paper towel and pull out, because if the judge bites into that thigh on thighs, if the judge bites into that thigh, they could get a little bit of blood that comes out of that thing. And then the oyster is another muscle that's on the thigh, and we'll cut that out almost down to the bone. That way, that skin, pulls loose from the bone real good. The bite does. I actually did a live chicken competition barbecue chicken class back in the day for a different website I had. I still got it. I should publish it. Should I publish that? That's what Dell learned on his first competition.
Definitely.
Put it up. We're breaking out all that old crap that I had out there back in the day from these other websites and stuff. I forgot all about that till just now. But Dell did it. I don't know. I'd like to get his opinion on it, how it stacks up compared to what he's learned now, because he took like actual barbecue classes. Dell has since then. He's got some legit knowledge. Patrick Self says he uses one of those Jacquard things. That's pretty cool. That's something else we didn't talk about with steak competitions. That's a whole nother deal. You ever cook any of those, Randy?
I've been there with Chris Holder. That's what he used to do before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. And they're different. I mean, I did take a class one time with Justin West and Roland, a Poncho and Lefty, before he sold it.
Yeah.
The steak cook-off stuff is ridiculous, dude. Like, if you ever watch those guys do it, man, and I don't know. It's all about the perfect circle steak, and then the perfect grill marks, or no grill marks. Actually, I was talking to John Mann. John Mann, AK Barbecue Man's in here once in a while. He's not on this call. At least I don't see him in here anyway. Or he would be like burning the chat up. Anyway, he's an SCA rep. And so it's really, really cool to hang out with him and hear everything he knows about it. But yeah, the whole, he told me one time that somebody won with a pan fried steak, because I don't know if there's rules or not. I guess you could take like a skillet and put it on charcoal and cook a steak like that. I don't know, but it's either grill marks have to be perfect if they're on it, or no grill marks, and then you're okay. But those guys will show up in like a little car, and they'll rip everything out of the trunk and set up, and they'll flat throw down on a state contest. They'll load up and go home. And they were there like what, 2 or 3 hours, something like that. They're done.
Yep, they're
It's
2 or
just
3
the
hours,
craziest
and if
thing
you
I've ever
win,
seen.
you win like $1,000.
Dude, that's crazy. It's like,
Yep.
yeah. Anyway, it's pretty amazing to me.